Hi, my name is John Duncan. I'm the father of Anna Louise Duncan, whom died in 2006, 10 days after being given the MMR. Basically, I was not happy about going through with giving my daughter the MMR. But my wife, being a nurse, she felt that, she didn't actually tell me she was giving my daughter the MMR, to be perfectly honest. The doctor kept targeting us with letters. We had delayed it because we were worried about the MMR and all publicity. But the doctor, as they do, bombard you. They're on bonuses to give out injections to kids. They don't care really about the consequences, as we found out. So Anna went in. I didn't know about it, and a few
How
days.
old was she when she went in for it?
She was 17 months. 17 months old, and but actually, prior to that, 10 days before, and I didn't know how significant this was, but she was at a party where there was apparently chickenpox. And so when she went to get the vaccine, that was 10 days after being exposed. When she was given the MMR, 10 days later, she died. Now, 10 days after the MMR vaccination, the measles component becomes active. 20 days after the chickenpox incubates for 20 days and it becomes active. So, I mean, as far as I'm aware, this has never been tested out in studies, you know. And Anna died, and it took 7 months for a pathologist report. 7 months to wait for an answer, which I wasn't happy with, because the report said purpura fulminans as the cause of death. For me, that is just, it's not a cause of death. It's a discoloring of the skin. It's a symptom of death, as it were, as far as I'm concerned. So we just kept asking questions. Well, I was asking questions. My wife, straight after she died, was asked if she wanted antidepressants, and she took antidepressants and sleeping tablets. So, I mean, she was out of it quite most of the time. I was back to work after 2 weeks. My mind was exploding. I was trying to come to terms with what happened. I was finding more and more information. I wasn't happy the way the medical profession were treating this situation. I felt this was really serious. They didn't seem to be taking it very seriously. They didn't want to call this an emergency situation. I mean, you know, if another child has chickenpox and they're giving them MMR, you know, what's that? You know, that could happen again. So they waited 7 months to give us the final post-mortem result, pathologist report, and basically we weren't happy with the answer of purpura fulminans as a result of chickenpox. They said there was a small amount of measles in the brain from the vaccine. But, you know, my opinion is that they delayed the answer coming to us to give us less time to prepare for a medical negligence case in the High Court in Edinburgh. And we didn't get there. We had a family catastrophe after that. I think my wife didn't have a proper grieving experience. She wasn't there. I think you have to be focused. You have to analyze. You have to go through your mental cogwheels to try and comprehend what has happened. And I know it's very difficult with vaccination, but my wife was never really allowed to do that. The doctor came to the house every day for a week after Anna died. He would not look at me. I was already asking questions. In fact, when I phoned the emergency service, I said, look, my daughter's been vaccinated with MMR. And I said she had chickenpox possibly as well. And the GP came every day, something I've never really heard about before. But 7 days on the trot, he came and he was looking at my wife all the time. He was looking at my wife, Veronica, looking at her and basically saying it wasn't chickenpox. Sorry, it wasn't the vaccine, it was the chickenpox. So, you know, there's just more and more suspicions are arriving all the time. And then we got a letter from the Department of Work and Pensions saying our daughter would not qualify for that damage payout because she died under the age of 2 years old. So
it's okay for your child to die under the age of 2 years old?
Well, they never mentioned it in the letter, but apparently the reasoning is, well, they did mention it briefly. They said that in order for someone to be a child to be assessed for vaccine damage, they have to reach the age of 2 to make that assessment. So if a child dies before they reach the age of 2, sorry, you can't get assessed, you can't get damage payout. So for anybody that's watching in the UK, if you take your child along to get vaccinated and your child dies, you're not going to get any compensation. And that's just par for the course for most cases. The vaccine manufacturers have total indemnity against being sued.
How is your wife now?
My wife is okay. I don't live with my wife anymore because she flipped. She had a bad episode, and I just can't get my head around what happened. But it was in the media, and I think she's just a very jealous person, and she did something really stupid.
Grief can make you do something.
Yes.
You lost your daughter, both of
yes.
you. And it was preventable.
It was preventable indeed. And I just watched the movie before I came here. Actually, I was looking at your case, and Anna was given antibiotics before being vaccinated, about 5 months before, and I would say that she wasn't right. There was spots around her face, just leading up to the vaccination. She had sniffles. I would say that the antibiotics, and I've experienced antibiotics myself, and I've been quite heavily vaccinated myself. I've travelled abroad. But in my daughter's case, Anna, she had been given antibiotics. I believe she was, there was a bit of an imbalance going on in her body. And I believe that if she had been allowed to be exposed to chickenpox without being vaccinated, she'd be alive today. I think the chickenpox would have helped her to provide a proper immune response to help eliminate bacteria. And, we hear about bacteria, there's good and bad bacteria, but all we hear about is bad virus. I find that very suspicious. I think, I don't know where virus comes from. Certainly bacteria, it's understandable, and stagnant pools or whatever, or contaminated meat, whatever, but virus, I think it was regarded certainly as being a benefit to mankind before vaccination was introduced. There was chickenpox parties, pox parties, whatever. So, it had a role to play in boosting your child's well-being. And I think in Anna's case, she could have got over the problems that she had arrived at with the antibiotics. I think the chickenpox would have helped her to even overcome that hurdle. But the MMR, all vaccines, doing some research, I think there's no vaccine really that doesn't promote an environment for bacteria and heavy metals and even antibiotics are in vaccines, and bacteria, they can produce a biofilm that they can incorporate heavy metals. As new studies are being found out, they can go into a survival strategy if they get exposed to antibiotics. They can incorporate, as I say, the heavy metals in their biofilm, and the immune system finds it harder to target. So I just, if you call me anti-vaccine, I'd have to agree, to be perfectly honest. I really do.
Do you have a picture of Anna?
I have pictures, not with me at the moment. I should have brought a picture, but I have video as well, and you know, I mean, she was a beautiful girl. She was in essence performing remarkably well. She was thriving, and she was in a centile scale. In the UK, we call it a centile scale for children's development. She was above average weight and height, and she was very caring as well. I mean, she was a very caring person. I remember, I think that was partly due to the fact that we, as parents, we loved her very much. We cared for her a lot. We gave her big hugs, and we encouraged Cameron, my son, and Anna to hug. And I remember her being at a function in Peebles, Peebles in the borders of Scotland, where we had our family, and she went to a function, and I remember a child falling down on the floor, and she had just learned to walk herself, and she went up to that child and tried to pick the child up to get it up on its feet again. So,
so she was kind.
She was kind, yeah. She was very
And
kind.
so everyone here's so sorry for you. It's a pain, deep pain.
It's very painful, and I determined. I was determined to come here and not shed a tear. So I'm hoping I can do that. I shed a tear just about signing the car outside. That was very powerful. But
well, we'd love a picture of Anna to take
Right.
back to. We travel around America on a bus, recording stories, and we have.
I
the
know, I
pictures
believe that.
and
I've
so.
seen. I've been following. as
Well,
best
we'd
I
love
can.
her photo in the bus with us,
Right, that's not a
fighting
problem.
on with us.
Right. Well,
Will you send us one if I give you a
it's not a
card?
problem. It's not a problem.
That would be
I
an honour.
believe there's a contact that you may know that has them already, but I can
A
send it.
contact we both know.
Yes, but I'd rather not
Okay.
mention any names.
Alright, okay. Listen, so grateful to you telling this one. It's so tragic. It's these people that
Wow.
Okay, so just saying that I love you. I'm
Thanks
so
very much.
sorry.
I love you back for being so aware and basically get me back up, and that's good.
Everyone needs a bit
I
of
like
love.
it. It helps a lot for families like myself and other autistic bearing families, parents. It makes a big difference that there is public awareness, because it's so hard to achieve sometimes. So that's great. Thank you very much.